So in the gym, you're going to use two lines, maybe about 20 feet apart, and depending on your group, you can adjust that if you need to. And you're going to start with some lines of students. So however many you want, you can have 3, 4, 5 lines. Doesn't matter how many students are in line either. We have even numbers, but odd numbers works as well. And for this example, we're just going to look at one group, but we can imagine that everyone's going at the same time. And so when the groups are there and ready to go, the first person in line is going to walk from the first line, the starting line, to the end line, and they're going to be facing forward the whole time, and they cannot look back. So what I like to tell students is to look at a brick on the wall and just stare at that brick, and don't look anywhere else. Once they've gotten to that line, the second player is going to sneak up on them. So they're going to slowly sneak up and quietly. When they get to them, they're going to tap them on the shoulder or on the back. And as soon as that tap is made, then the first player has to react and try and chase the player back to the beginning. So the tap was made, and they chase, or the one chases the one back and tries to tag them. The tag rarely happens. Usually the one who is running away gets away, but sometimes it does happen. When they return, they're going to go simply to the back of one of the other lines, and that just mixes up the partners instead of the same friends going all the time, and the play continues on. As soon as the group gets back to you, then the next players are always ready to go, so then they would continue on. So in this game, students will start spread out around the gym, and one student will start with a blue pool noodle, and the other will start with a red pool noodle. And if you don't have those pool noodles, you can use dodgeball, so they'll work the same. So you need a red and blue. The blue represents freeze, and the red represents melt or hot. And so basically on go, the one with the blue will go around chasing the players, trying to tag them. Anytime a player gets tagged, they must turn into an ice statue. So they form an ice statue. They're stuck there until the player with the red color goes around and melts that statue, and then the player can go and run around in the game. And that's a little bit of prep work is needed. So to start, you're going to write down on little sticky notes or a piece of paper 1 to 16, if that's the number of students you have. Of course, you don't just have 16, you probably have 20 or 30 or whatever. So one for each student. And then as they're coming in, you can give them their sticky note, or whenever you're ready to start the game, give them their note so they all know their number. But the thing is, they can't share that number with others. So they all know their own number. They don't know everyone else's. That's the mystery part, of course. And so simple idea is you're going to call out numbers. So you call one number. 10 was called. So, of course, number 10 knows who they are. And then you're going to put up 1 minute or 2 minutes. And that player is going to go around and try and catch as many players in that time, so in that minute. And yeah, so we have to imagine everybody's moving around, of course. And some strategy might be to go slow at first, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere tag a bunch of players or whatever. Sometimes the taggers just go and run and catch a bunch of people right away, but they have 1 minute to catch as many people as they can. And then you're going to start a new round, have everyone spread out again, call out a new number, and then the game goes on and on like that. So that was number 3 right there, and that would be the tagger. So super fun. A couple little things here. Just write the numbers on the whiteboard as you go along so you can keep track of which numbers you've called. You can sometimes call the same number again if you want, just to throw things off. And or you can call 2 or even 3 or more numbers all at the same time, all depending on the time you have and how you want the game to go. So to start, the players are going to be lined up along one wall, and they're going to face the wall, and they're going to close their eyes so that they can't see, because the teacher's going to go and choose one player who's going to be the spy. They can do that by tapping them on the shoulder or using their foot to tap their foot, but that you choose one spy that nobody else knows who it is, and then players are going to find an area to start. Now the goal of the spy, and in this example, we've chosen this player to be the spy. The spy is going to go around and try and poison people, and they're going to do that by trying and wink at them. By all players are going to be making eye contact the whole game, so they're walking around, finding a different area. They're all moving at the same time, and the spy is going around and winking at people. And if you get winked at, you have to lay down, and you're poisoned. So the spy has gone around and winked at somebody, that player there, so that player needs to lay down and they're poisoned. For phys ed, you can have it instead of laying down, they can hold a plank to make it more challenging. So that player's holding a plank, and everyone's still moving around. I know we just see the spy moving, but imagine everybody's moving around, and he has winked at somebody, so that player also has to hold a plank. So we have 2 people down. And the game continues on and on. Now, if the spy goes and winks at somebody, and somebody has seen that player who winked, then they can try and say they found the spy. And if they are correct, like in this case, this player saw that the spy had winked, and yeah, correct, so the round is over, and you start again, choose a new spy or whatever. If that player thinks they saw the spy and they're wrong, then the teacher will say, nope, that's not the spy, and then that player needs to then also hold the plank. And you go, and sometimes the spy can eliminate everybody. So in this game, you're going to explain to your students or your players that the bad guys are the taggers, the secret agents are the freers, and the citizens are the runners or the rest of the players. So that all players are going to be one of those 3 things, either a bad guy or a secret agent or citizens. So all players will start in a certain spot, and they'll be sitting down on the floor or the field, depending where you're playing. And as a teacher, you're going to call out eyes closed, heads down, so that all the students are going to close their eyes and put their heads down so they can't see what's going on. And you're going to go around and tap some players on the head to choose what they are. So one tap on the head will choose all the taggers. So you go around one tap, we see one tagger there and another tagger, so those are the bad guys with one tap on the head. Two taps on the head will choose the secret agents. So as you go around, you'll tap two students on the head, and those two or three, depending how many students you have, will be the secret agents, the freers. And then when you're finished, you're gonna say, okay, everybody, you can have 5 seconds to find a spot, and then get started. So you'll have the start signal, and the taggers, the bad guys, will go around and try and tag people. So you see that tagger has tagged somebody there. When they're tagged, they have to sit down, and they're stuck sitting down until a freer or a secret agent comes along and frees them and taps them on the shoulder. Then they can get back up. And so that's basically how that works. So the taggers tag, the freers free. In this game, the freers can get tagged. So if a tagger, if one of the bad guys goes and finds a freer and tags them, they have to sit down. Now, if both freers get tagged, so we see that both of the freers, both the secret agents were tagged, then the round will be over, and then you'll have everyone start from the beginning, have them sit down, quickly tap people on the head to choose what they are, and go again, and just play as often as you'd like. Okay, so you're going to have your class lined up along one side of the gym. They're going to be the Bulldogs, and you're going to pick one person, maybe two, to be the catcher in the middle circle. Now the goal of the game is for the Bulldogs to make it across to the other side without getting tagged or caught by the catcher. So they're going to wait till the catcher yells out British Bulldog nice and loud, and then they're going to run across to the other side. If they get caught, which it looks like two players got caught that last round, those players become catchers as well. So now we have three catchers, and they're going to call out British Bulldog, and the Bulldogs are going to try and run down to the other side. Again, if they get caught, they become catchers as well. So it gets harder and harder as the game goes on. Now we have, what is it, 6 catchers in the middle and 4 Bulldogs left. So the game will continue until everybody's caught, and then you'll just start a new round. So you're going to start with your players sitting down in pairs on the floor or the playing area. So they're all sitting down in their pairs. You're going to start with one pair, split them up, and have one player as the chaser and one player as a fleer. So it's a tag game. You have a tagger and somebody who's running. And when the game starts, that chaser is going to chase the fleer. If at any point the chaser tags the fleer, well, then they switch roles. So very simply, now we have a new chaser, and that player is now the fleer who's going to be running away. Now the fleer's job is to try and bump players. So what I mean by that is that fleer is running away from the tagger and has sat down beside that one player. So the opposite player is bumped out of that because there can only be two people sitting down. So that player has been bumped away and is now the fleer. And so the fleer is still there, but the chaser stays the same, of course. So now the chaser has to take that fleer. And that student was fast enough, or that player was fast enough to get to over there and bump somebody else out. So there we have another new fleer, and the chaser still stays the same. So the chaser's got to tag somebody in order to become a fleer. So we see here that finally that chaser tagged, and so we have a new chaser now, and that player became a fleer. And so the game continues on and on like that. So they're running around, and although you'd think from this video that it looks like a lot of people are sitting at the same time, don't worry about that. They actually run a lot, and I'll explain in a second here. So we've started with one group that were split apart, and once students understand how that works, then you can have another group. So you have two separate groups chasing and fleeing at the same time. And then of course as the game goes on, you could even add another one, and there's lots of sitting down, standing up, running around, and the kids have a lot of fun. So it's a great startup activity. Some things we want to go over here. Just like I was saying, you start with one chaser and fleer while explaining. Then when everybody understands, then you can add another chaser and fleer, and you can eventually try 3 chasers, 3 fleers for maximum movement. But also you got to make sure that the chaser and the fleer has to stick in the same group. Like one chaser can't take somebody else's fleer. It doesn't work like that. So you'll see as the game goes on. And here's some things. The fleers sometimes run and run and run, so they just keep going and going and going, and they don't actually sit down or bump anyone. So if that happens, just give them a 10-second count to sit down. Or if there's an odd number of players, you can either play as a teacher and so make it an even number, or you can just have one player who's just a single player instead of a pair, and just if anybody sits beside that single player has to get up. Okay, here's a fun little game you can call your school mascot or school team tag for kindergarten to grade 8. You don't need any equipment, and this game idea is thanks to a friend of mine, Graham Bodner, who teaches at a school nearby. We've been teaching for years together in the same school division, and yeah, this is one of his ideas, so thanks, Graham. His school is the Richer Wildcats, so he calls it the Wildcat Tag. And we've used it at our school. We're the Arbor Gate Hawks, so we call it Hawks Tag. If you're the Chicago Bulls, you'd call it the Bulls Tag. And so whatever team mascot or whatever animal or whatever you have there, you can call it your team tag. And so the way this game works is you're going to have, just like Ollie Octopus or British Bulldog, those kind of running wave games, you're going to start at a line, all the players lined up, and there's the start and the finish line. And you got your catcher in the middle, who must always start in the middle circle. And as a teacher, you're going to call out different colors to start. So what you're going to do is you're going to call your school team. So if we're the Hawks, we say Hawks red. Anybody who's wearing any red is going to try and run across without getting caught. And anyone who gets caught will join the player in the middle for the next call. Hawks green was called, so anyone wearing green will then proceed to run across, and so on and so forth. So you get the idea. And once all the colors or things have been called, they get to the one side. Anyone who's made it safely is on that other side, and then you start calling back. And so you can call whatever different colors and other ideas such as Hawks girls or Hawks boys or Hawks everyone. And yeah, be creative, come up with your own. Some things we've said were like Hawks grade 4, Hawks who has a younger brother, Hawks lived in a different province, or for you in the States, in a different state, or what have you. And it's just a general idea. So here are your players in the playing area, and basically everybody's it, and everybody can also get tagged. So if a player can go around and tag somebody, the player who's tagged has to sit down, and they're stuck down there until the player who tagged them gets tagged. So a different student has come around and tagged that player, and so now that player is down, and the person who they tagged is back up. And if players tag each other at the same time, which can happen, then have them do rock paper scissors to see who sits down. And yeah, that's it for this idea. So you're going to split your group into two lines on the sides of your playing area. It could be in the gym, it could be outside. You're going to place one cone down about a third of the way from the line on the left, and you're going to have one player start at that cone, and the direction of travel is going to be this way, and they're going to be doing sprints that way. And you're also going to place one cone down a third of the way from the line on the right, and have a player start at that cone, and that player is going to be running in that way. So you have kind of a counterclockwise direction. You can have clockwise, it doesn't really matter the direction. And so on the whistle, what's going to happen is the first player in this line is going to chase that other player, and they're both going to be sprinting, so a mass sprint. At the same time, the line there, the bottom player is going to be chasing that player, and so they go in that direction. So four players will be sprinting at the exact same time. So whistle is blown by the coach or the teacher, players are all running and sprinting. As soon as they get there, basically just rotate, and the next player goes to the cone, and then we have a new leader. Again, the whistle will be blown, all players are going to be running and sprinting. Now sometimes, or rarely, but if a player gets caught like we saw over there, nothing actually happens. They just go in a line and just keep running and running and running, and a lot of laughs, a lot of fun, a lot of movement. Of course, sprinting is very important. We don't do enough of it. And that's it for this idea. If you've enjoyed this game, please consider subscribing.